The trend in 2026 shows clients are shifting from investment builds to creating their forever homes, emphasising quality and attention to detail. For more, I'm joined in the studio by Darren Zhou from Magico Constructions. Darren, great to have you on Ticker.
Nice to be here, thank you.
Talk to us about the changes that you're actually noticing in clients' motivations when it comes to building homes. What's happening right now?
Yeah, so we're definitely starting to see a shift of clients looking more to plan building their forever homes rather than an investment homes. Whereas in the past, I think most clients look to renovate or build, but they're thinking about potentially selling the property in 5 to 10 years' time. However, recently, it seems like they've now realized with construction costs rising, they're looking to build their forever home that they plan to stay in, basically.
Okay, so it's because of construction costs the reason for that, not just, I guess, it could be quite a frustrating process, right?
Yes, yes, the process is quite long as well, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
So obviously in Sydney, New South Wales, the planning procedure is quite tedious. So that's definitely one of the factors as well, yeah.
It's interesting, so really that's changed it from an investment that you move into and then flip to something you live. So I guess define for me what a forever home looks like and what sets it apart from, I guess, a standard build.
Sure, so when you're trying to build a forever home, you're really thinking about the lifespan of that family dynamic.
Yeah.
So it's not just about where you're at this point of time, but in 10 years or 20 years time. And you have to think about aging parents, you know, kids growing up from a toddler to teenager to potentially moving out. So those are kind of like little nuances that people have to think about early on in the stage, yeah.
I feel like we're going back to the future. Grandparents, from me, my memory is they stayed in their house and lived there forever, and then the next generation kind of, throughout the 90s and noughties, it became the big thing, that property and developing and selling was the thing as well. So I guess when you're looking at a long-term home, you look at it a bit differently, and one of those big things, of course, is going to be the quality and the build of the home, right?
Yes, it's also thinking about, you know, little things like as your parents age, you might need to consider potentially adding in like grab rails for like people,
okay,
elderlies, and thinking about thresholds maybe.
So accessibility.
Accessibility, that's right, it's a big thing. And if you plan early on, it's easy to kind of have those things installed later on. Whereas if you don't plan around it and you need it later on, it can be quite costly and difficult to do that. Yeah.
So obviously thinking ahead, we're talking decades quite often about what could be needed down the track, as opposed to the current, which is this something that someone else will buy in 5 to 10 years? That's
right, yeah. So you're thinking about even little things like maybe considering, do you need a lift shaft maybe? Perhaps as your parents get older, thinking
if you're
about,
in a multi-storey house, obviously, and stairs are becoming a challenge.
That's right, and wider corridors as well for wheelchair accessibility. Just little things that people kind of overlook, and future-proofing things, you know, with the trend that we've got going on about EV chargers, batteries, solar panels, those sort of things. If you think a bit early on and you built that in from the start, it makes it a lot easier to be future-proofing for the future.
So I would imagine then, Darren, that there'd be a lot of people who are focusing on the quality rather than the cost if we're talking about long term. So short term, you might be thinking about the cost and flipping it and what's the profit going to be, what's the return on investment. But if you're planning on living in this for a long time, your cost probably isn't the number one concern.
That's right. Yeah, I think it's more about what's going to be comfortable for the family. And one of the things I think people have a misguided kind of, you know, the misconception is to build things right the first time doesn't necessarily have to be that expensive. And it's always going to be far cheaper to build it right correctly the first time, rather than experiencing issues and you have to go back to fix defects. You know, that's the one thing we don't want to do as builders, definitely.
Yeah, well, that's right. And so when you are meeting people for the first time, what sort of things do you encourage them to think about? You mentioned guardrails, you mentioned the possibility of a lift. What else do you talk about? So
I try to tell them about their life cycle of where their family dynamic is going to be. You know, if you're a young parent with kids, you're thinking about the fact that the child's going to grow up eventually. You might also have to consider your elderly parents. So in 10, 20 years time, are you going to plan to have your parents move in with you potentially? Or these are little things that you have to kind of have to think about in the back of your mind. And also just planning around the future in terms of technology as well, because as we know, you can't live without internet in this day and age anymore. So really trying to future-proof the home in having the right infrastructure in place.
Well, I mean, that's quite a challenge, isn't it? You never know where technology is going to go, so keeping it pretty open-minded as well. And it's interesting what you talked there about children and parents. I guess that would be about making sure that bedrooms are further apart and living quarters are multiple in a house rather than everyone relying on the same bathroom, for example.
Exactly, yeah, 100%. And and especially for elderly, you might want to have a guest bedroom on the ground floor, so they don't have to go up and down stairs. You know, just somewhere that's going to be
What are
easy.
some of just, I guess, some of the common mistakes quickly that people make?
I think a lot of people, they want to build for what they think they need right now. They don't think about the future. The swimming pool is the best example. Everybody wants pools for their little kids,
Yeah.
which is fine. But you know, when the kids grow old, they get sick of it after a couple of years, and you're just throwing, it's like a money sink to keep the maintenance
Yes.
of that pool.
I'd never want a swimming pool because that would make my dad want to move in,
Yeah.
which would be the problem.
Yeah.
Darren, before we go, how can people find out more?
Sure, so we just can visit our website. It would be Magico, so magic with an O, Magico Constructions with an S.com.
Darren, really appreciate your time on Ticker. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.